Welcome to the deep dive. We aim to get straight to the heart of things here, pulling out the really key insights so you get the picture without, feeling buried in information.
Hmm.
Today we're zeroing in on technology and healthcare. Specifically, how the people actually using healthcare, that's you, are, well, driving its progress.
Yeah, in our source material, it actually gives a heads up, a sort of warning that this area can feel overwhelming, just so much info.
Right.
But like you said, our job here is to kind of act as your guide, pull out the essential stuff that really matters.
Exactly. So today's deep dive, it has one main mission, really, to figure out how involving everyone in capturing health data, using tech patients, doctors, everyone, how that leads to smarter predictions and, well, better health for people.
We'll definitely touch on user-driven healthcare, UDHC, and you'll see how tools like PAJR and CBBLE sort of fit into that whole idea as we talk.
And it's so important to remember, this isn't about finding one magic fix for health problems. It's always an ongoing journey, right?
Yeah.
Learning, adapting.
Absolutely, it's continuous. And, to really get this shift, it helps to look back. Look at the word technology.
Okay.
It's from Greek. Techne, meaning art, skill, craft, technique, and apparology, the study of.
Ah, okay.
So think about that techne part. The art, the skill of caring for each other, that's ancient. Way older than even the wheel.
Wow, that really frames it differently. That human side of healthcare, it's just fundamental, isn't it?
It is.
Our sources, they use this interesting comparison, early healthcare knowledge, like a static textbook fix.
Right, like it's all written down, unchanging.
Yeah. But then think about, say, Google Maps for driving somewhere. It's always updating real time.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is navigating illness. It still often feels more like using that old textbook. Like we're still mapping out a lot of the territory.
That's a really key point. And it makes you think of those old images, like the ancient Greek doctor and patient.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
It just reminds you of that core human connection and healing. That hasn't really changed fundamentally. There's actually a link to a lecture if you want to, explore that history more.
Good to know. Okay, so what about science then? How does that fit in?
Well, interestingly, the materials suggest a possible ancient root for science. Might mean something like to cut or to incise.
Huh. Like making a mark.
Yeah, maybe. It brings up this image of a sickle,
Mm-hmm.
Not just for harvesting, but maybe for making marks, recording things you observe.
So observation recording.
Yeah.
The basics of science.
Exactly. And I loved the bit about the question mark.
Oh.
Yeah, framing the question mark as like a vital tool for science, for skepticism, that constant questioning, that's what pushes things forward.
Right, which makes you ask, who are the real movers and shakers in healthcare? Who are the artists, the geniuses, the engineers making things better?
And the answer we're getting from the sources is, well, it's everyone.
Everyone. Patients, too.
Yeah. Patients absolutely included. And healthcare professionals, of course. Think of it like putting together a really complex model airplane or something.
Okay.
Each step in understanding an illness, the uncertainty, then maybe a diagnosis, then therapy. It's like adding a piece. But, the visuals linked in the source material show this well. You rarely get to, 100% certainty.
Yeah, there's always some gray area, isn't there? Always more to figure out.
Always. And that continuous learning, it leads to this really interesting idea that every single one of us is kind of a genius, artist, end user of technology, meaning we're all shaping our own lives, our own health paths. The source even hints at future stuff like digital twins or robotic avatars. Kind of wild.
It is. Okay, so this brings up a useful distinction, right?
Yeah.
Science versus technology.
Yes. Crucial difference. Science, as we said, is knowing, getting knowledge from data.
Understanding why.
Right. Technology is the doing. Taking that knowledge and skillfully making something useful, a product, a tool, like that simple, primitive wheel that was technology, born from understanding physics, needing to move stuff.
Got it. Knowing versus doing.
And this is where the concept of primordial AI gets introduced, which I found fascinating.
Primordial AI, what's that?
So the sources describe asynchronous communication of knowledge, basically, sharing knowledge across time without needing to be face-to-face as the earliest form of AI.
Okay, I think I follow, like writing something down.
Exactly. Or painting on a cave wall. That evolved, the sources say, into more formal academic intelligence AI. And now, the current artificial intelligence AI that everyone's talking about.
So wait, cave paintings as AI.
Well, yeah, in a way. The idea is by taking what they saw in real life, complex 3D data, and putting it into a 2D format on a wall.
They were modeling it,
Yeah,
making it easier to grasp.
precisely. Easier to manage, understand, and importantly, share that understanding across time. It's a way of storing and transmitting intelligence without being there live.
Huh. That's a really cool way to think about it.
Isn't it? And this whole evolution from cave paintings to modern AI, it kind of explains why there's so much buzz now about AI that mimics some aspects of that primordial AI, especially using data captured locally over time, asynchronously.
Which leads us pretty neatly into user-driven healthcare, UDHC.
Exactly, UDHC. The core idea is, well, it's about global learning toward local caring.
Meaning, learn from everywhere, but apply it right here, specifically for this person.
You got it. Empowering individuals to be active participants, contributing their own unique data, their experiences, into a kind of shared knowledge pool.
And that shared learning then helps tailor care better for them locally.
That's the goal. And it's not just theory. The sources show how UDHC workflows are actually being used, evolving in different hospitals and clinics.
And they emphasize the patient as a teacher.
Yes. Such a powerful concept. The person living with the condition often has insights you just can't get anywhere else. Their experience is invaluable data.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So how does the learning actually happen?
Well, the material describes it as taking all that messy, complex, real-life health stuff and kind of structuring it, organizing it maybe visually so it's easier to store, think about model concepts.
Like making sense of the chaos.
Sort of, yeah. It even connects it to Bloom's taxonomy, how we learn from basic facts up to analyzing, creating.
Right. The levels of understanding.
And there are concrete examples given, workflows happening right now in places like Telangana, Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, in India, showing how this user-driven thing works on the ground in different local situations.
Okay, so it's adaptable, but is it just anyone can dump data in? Is there structure?
Oh yeah, definitely structure. It's theory-driven with what they call guardrails, built-in safeguards for everyone, patients, doctors, other users.
Third rails, okay.
And the sources provide links to the PageAR workflow specifics, roles, history templates, even really important stuff on de-identifying data for privacy, plus a glossary. It's clearly been thought through.
Good. Privacy is huge, obviously.
Absolutely. And there are also specific resources for the health professionals using these systems.
Like what?
Checklists, graphical patient timelines so you can see the journey visually, guidance on informed consent, illustrations of the whole process. It shows it's about empowering the whole team with better info based on that user input.
So it's not just about the patient providing info, but how the team uses it effectively.
Exactly. And they even include things like reflective notes, feedback examples.
Yes.
It points to the cycle of doing, reflecting, improving. It's a learning system.
Constant learning.
Yeah.
Which brings us to seeing it in action.
Yeah.
The sources mention demos.
Yeah, the idea of a live demo with a patient, which obviously highlights the real-world complexity. We can't do that here, but there are links.
To videos.
Yes, videos of participatory medicine sessions with doctors, and also case reports put together by patient advocate volunteers. Real examples. You can see how patient stories become part of the record.
That sounds really valuable. Seeing the human story connect to the data.
It is. And there are also links to online portfolios from students, volunteers, people learning and using this system. It really drives home the point that seeing it work is different than just talking about it. You get a feel for the whole ecosystem.
Okay, so let's maybe summarize the strengths here. What are the core takeaways from the UDHC approach?
Well, the sources point back to the foundational ideas, the books written about it, but then it circles back to those key definitions. What is technology? What is science? Who is the end user?
Right, getting those basics clear.
And then hammering home the importance of hyperlocality designing care for the specific local context, that whole global learning, hyperlocal caring idea.
And using tech to keep the connection going.
Right.
Beyond just the clinic visit.
Yeah, creating persistent clinical encounters, using social networking tech to stay connected, gather data over time, not just snapshots.
The sources use a phrase, user-driven alchemy.
Huh, yeah. User-driven alchemy of patient-centered learning. A bit poetic, but it captures that transformative idea, how engaging people actively can, change things.
And it links to leadership, too.
It does, fostering that internal motivation. There's even a mention of political training in medicine, suggesting that really understanding individual experiences is key for leading effectively anywhere.
Interesting angle. So the tools like PageAR, CBBLE, they support this ongoing journey.
That's the idea, a 24/7 journey, potentially. There's even a proposed CBBLE program mentioned, focused on leadership and innovation through medical humanities, thinking bigger picture.
And there was a metaphor, a tree.
Oh, the pruned Indian jujube tree. Yeah, a visual metaphor for growth through careful shaping and refinement.
Nice. But it's not all smooth sailing, right? There are trade-offs.
Definitely. The sources acknowledge the big one, balancing transparency and accountability, which these tools can increase with protecting privacy and security. It's a constant tension.
A necessary balancing act.
For sure. But the bottom line seems to be that healthcare, while tough, is incredibly rewarding when you bring science and technology together effectively, especially with the user at the center.
And the sources do mention the challenges, the thorns of clinical complexity, even with these systems.
Right. It's not a magic wand. Healthcare remains complex. These are tools and approaches to navigate that complexity better.
So there isn't really an ask at the end, but more an encouragement to keep exploring.
Yeah, seems like it. Pointing you back to those lectures, the demos, the discussions, it's an invitation to dig deeper yourself.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up then. Key takeaways from this deep dive. We've seen how technology in healthcare connects way back to the basic human art of caring.
Right, and this big shift towards seeing everyone, especially you, the patient, as an active, vital end user of healthcare tech, someone who contributes.
We also traced how sharing knowledge has evolved from that primordial AI idea like cave paintings up to today's systems and why that local long-term data is so powerful.
And ultimately, the promise of user-driven healthcare UDHC to make care more dynamic, more personalized, more effective by leveraging that user input.
So understanding healthcare, it really is an ongoing journey. Learning, discovering, working together. It's not static.
Never static, always evolving.
Which leaves us with maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Go for it.
As tech keeps racing ahead, what is the future role of your own health data? How do we best blend these powerful new tools with that essential human touch, the art of caring?
And maybe, what does it mean for you to be an active technology end user when it comes to your own health? Something to think about.
Definitely. We really encourage you to check out the links if you want to dive deeper into any of this. Keep thinking about this complex relationship between tech and well-being.